That's the movie I rented, and the VHS sat on top of my TV in the '90s, and it was three days late overdue, and I had to pay late fees, and I still didn't watch it. So I finally got around to watching it.
Man, I really enjoyed this film.
It's a
I
great
did
movie.
too.
Cool
It's a
story.
great
It was a
movie.
great, nice little tiny story about this day in the life of this guy, this blind guy. It was
They
great.
don't make them like this anymore. This is what indie film used to be.
A midline, middle, not low budget, but not high budget, a
Yep.
midline drama. Fucking
Yep.
great, man.
Yeah, and it seemed like there were ads of them back in those days.
Everyone's a redeemable character.
Yep.
They're all broken, kind of like maybe Russell Crowe less than the other
Or the
two,
least broken.
but like
Yeah, he's the
everyone's-
least fucked up.
everyone's a little broken. There's a cute dog in it.
Oh, the dog's adorable.
The cat gets crushed and then doesn't die.
And a
I know.
cat.
Think about that. How often does that happen in movies?
Right.
We have a cat.
That is a great scene though, where he's like, "You killed Ugly," and then they go and he opens up the garbage can. He goes and reaches.
He's
in the
touching
garbage.
it.
It's not dead. And then they go to the vet.
And you get that great photo montage from the veterinarian's office where they met every single person in that waiting room.
They're all together. At the
And they're
end.
that was
posting
fun.
good pictures.
I mean, the whole idea about having a blind photographer, that's a pitch, right? As a pitch line.
It is totally a pitch line.
Yeah.
I love the part where he's like, "Are you in the picture?" And he's like, "No, I'm down a little bit more." So he puts it down a little bit more. He's like, "All right, are you in the picture now?" He's like, "Yeah." It's like, "Is the cat in the picture?" He is now. There's good jokes in this movie too.
It was funny
Like,
as fuck.
the part where they go where he goes to the hospital and she's like, "You've been blind your whole life," and he's like, "I know." She's like, "Why were you driving a car?" And he goes, "I forgot." And it just cuts to the two
Yeah,
of them
that's pretty good.
busting up in the car. Like,
Yeah.
like
the whole thing that led up to that, where he was just looking through the stuff in the side
condoms.
pocket on the door, and he's holding up the condoms, and that guy in the next car was completely freaked out because of the eye contact thing that he thought was happening. It wasn't fucking happening at all. I've never seen that scene in any movie ever.
Also,
it was really good.
They were listed in the credits as hoons.
yes,
Hoon.
that is hooning about.
Yeah,
That's-
hooning about. They're a bunch of hoons. Yes.
He's
Fun.
got the cut. He's got the cut above his eye for the rest of the movie too.
Yes.
Like, he's like
It
it's
does heal.
there are consequences for all of this. Like
Right.
it's man, and boy, just incredible acting by the three of them.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Dude, everybody just gave 100% in this thing. It was amazing.
Hugo Weaving must have spent some real time with blind people for this, because his ability to like not make eye contact and not look at things.
Yeah.
Like there's that part where he's going down the stairs after they go to the symphony, and he's not looking at the stairs at all. Like he's just using the cane the entire time to go down the stairs. Like
Also, I want to point out that my favorite transposition is this, where Hugo Weaving's this character is in that woman's place, and
You mean Russell Crowe, right?
then you
This. Oh my God, what a great
that was so brilliant.
He's sitting there, she invites, and he sits down, he looks over across at the table, and there's one picture of Hugo Weaving. And
then she turns the light on,
and he starts to look around. You see it fucking on his face.
We know it's there. We all know
We
it's there. And the
It's
audience
Hitchcock.
knows it's there. And
It's
were,
Hitchcock. You know the bomb is under the table.
yeah, your concentration is on his reveal. And it's great. It's good fucking screenwriting, man. It's the best.
It is. It is. It's a great scene. And then she just comes in with the cup of tea comes into the frame.
Pretty
I
much.
almost used that as my photo of him just like this at the cup of tea. Like it's just like, oh, you're gonna stab me to death. Like, I have fucked all the way up. Like, and
Wow.
just having said that he loves her too, like before that, like it's just like, yeah, well, guess what? She doesn't. Like
I think she was a little unrealistic. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it exactly. There's a kind of male perspective on this thing. Like,
I didn't buy it for a second.
okay, there it is.
Okay, Chris.
Also,
Oh.
Jared had been really quiet.
Yes,
so-
indeed.
I'll go.
Listen, the caveat is I actually did like this movie. It turned out Gloom Girl had seen it years and years and years ago, and this is one of the extremely rare occasions that she has watched one of our picks with me.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
I think like one or two other instances, and she was happy to watch this again with me. You know, she's a big Russell Crowe fan, and it's watching these two guys, like it's you get it, like this is why they're still working. I mean, like they've got charisma to spare. I mean, Russell Crowe is extremely charming. My notes are, yeah, I struggled with her character a little bit. I didn't buy it. I mean, whether you intended this or not, John, your theme seems to, and this was actually Gloom Girl's observation, this sort of weird fetishistic one-way relationship between female characters and guys that don't return it, right? I mean,
well, I hadn't ever seen Naked, so it was completely unintentional, but that is how it kind of worked.
That explains
how it worked out.
So
I will just say,
much, man. And
struggled
prepare for this when the next segment, dude.
I struggle with her character a little bit. But the other thing that I was thinking about watching it is, and I get that this is of its time and like an indie movie, 1991, but there are a couple of what I thought were extremely missed opportunities. Like, and Jared's going to tell me I'm wrong in a second, but when I think about it, really kind of comes down to how the filmmaker used filmmaking to communicate how Hugo Weaving experiences the world. And I think about, these are two weird examples, but I think about what Ratatouille did, what Brad Bird did to communicate what things taste like.
What flavors, the little things flying around in the background.
You know, maybe not as good an example, but just anybody that's watched the Marvel show Daredevil, what they do with filmmaking to communicate how that character is able to see.
This weird Sonic thing they do.
That's a good
really,
show.
For me, it's like the scene where he gets taken to the symphony
Yeah.
is so flat and so fucking dead visually, and it's such an impactful moment for him. And I just felt like someone with a little bit more style,
money.
No, wait,
someone
you're
with more-
arguing
someone
that
with
this
more
film needs
money.
more budget, so that would actually kind of
Well,
soar a bit.
I think that no,
I was actually, I was very.
I'm not saying it needed CG or some bullshit. I just like something.
But you
I
could
know.
have done.
I was
but
very,
if you
I
had-
was
if-
very
if you
taken
had-
by
if
that
you had
scene. I
said-
thought that
if
was
you had-
I thought that was the emotional center of the film.
I
If
wish
you had
it had been-
$1,000 more to make this movie, you could have done something else with that.
I'm
Like,
saying-
I'm not saying it needs to be Mr. Holland's opus with all of the flashing lights and all that stuff, but like, I felt it. I
wish I felt it bigger.
They brought me across the finish line with that one.
All right.
I will agree with Chris and everyone else. I thought this movie was fan-fucking-tastic. Like, I love this movie.
It was delightful.
I'd never seen it in my life.
Delightful.
Oh, good for you.
It was a little slow start, and then I just fell in love with the entire thing. I think the writing is absolutely brilliant.
It is.
Like,
It's good stuff.
and the acting is understated and wonderful. And I agree with the symphony scene. It got me too, Tad Scott. It like I almost welled up. It was so
I know, same
touching
here. I
and
thought
beautiful.
that was the center
and,
of the film. It just really was.
and I know what Chris is saying too, though, because you kind of think, oh, but you know, I kind of think that, like, you could argue, yeah, it's budget restraint or restrictions, or what if it was like, no, you know, it's just a mature choice and we don't want to be flashy filmmakers here. You know, you could argue that it could be either way.
Yeah, it didn't bother me in the slightest.
It didn't bother me.
But would it have
and
been better with like some Steadicam shots of all the people playing and like a little
well, they
bit-
did have some coverage.
No, there are some cuts.
I know.
Of that.
Yeah,
but
there's
you could have
coverage.
Actually, kind of found
It helps that it's a
lyrical
beautiful
visual
performance
space
of that
would help.
piece.
It is.
Right.
Really.
And you really feel Hugo. I think the acting sells it, right?
The part where he takes
Hugo
the
Weaving's-
glasses off, where he
Yeah.
reaches
Yeah.
up and he pulls
I
his
know.
glasses off.
Yeah, that was nuts.
Like,
I-
and because
yeah.
you
I'll
have
tell
that-
you though, you know what's going through my mind was, he's a grown man. He could have just gone to the symphony by himself if he'd ever thought of it.
but he
it's
didn't.
like-
Yeah.
I was just wondering the sort of the logical aspect of it.
Because
Well,
his
you know
world,
what?
his world is so small.
I
He
guess.
lives
To the
in this
logical aspect-
tiny world.
I
I
get what
guess.
Chris is saying, where, I mean, talk about illogical. Like, why did that woman pine for him so badly that she was willing to take essentially emotional abuse, or at least verbal, or constant rejection anyway, and still stay there and still be in love with him? That's a little.
That was kind of the film's gimmick.
It's a little unbelievable. But
Yeah.
I think that
abuse thing was
woman.
the gimmick of the film.
A woman,
Yeah.
look, a woman went and kneeled down on train tracks and got hit by a train because she was in love with David Letterman, a person she'd only seen on television. Like literally, you cannot quantify the way that people love someone.
And
like,
a dude shot President Reagan for Jodie Foster.
Dominique,
all right. Maybe I can believe her character.
Dominique Dunn
to her the entire running time, and I struggle with that.
Dominique Dunn got shot in the head because she did a sex scene in a movie. Like, it's like,
but I think this is like
obsession.
It's almost like I think it's so good. And I know that you should never say this, especially if you're a filmmaker, but I kept being like, oh, you know what? I really want like Todd Field to remake this, like, you know, and like funny. Make it like In the Bedroom meets Tar, and just make it like a little update, because I also
more classical music in it.
Well, I agree with Chris too, where I think there's a few missed opportunities, or a few things are a little clunky, but that's because it is an independent film. It's a 1991.
It's a small little movie.
We've talked about too much style versus not enough style.
Tiny Australian
no
movie.
Style.
Yeah. Also,
fine.
The Todd Field angle, I didn't think about this before. That's actually pretty good, because
I don't think there's no style to this. I want to disagree with Chris.
There's tons of style to this thing.
I think there's a lot of style in this.
I think the style is the writing and the acting. There is no filmmaking style per se in this.
There's
both of these
a
movies
theme being explored in this film that's actually kind of, it's right on top of the thing. It's about trust.
Well, what it's got going for it is its originality. Trust. It's so original. It's so creative.
Both these movies are shot and especially scored like television shows.
Yes.
Like from this time period.
Yes.
But I want to say that I really appreciated the extremely low-key Jacques Clouseau and Kato shit that was going on between the two of them. Like the part at the very end when she leaves her, and she puts the fucking coat rack right in front.
I love that.
It's not the first time she does that shit either. She just moves stuff.
Because she does the ashtray. She moves the ashtray.
Now, do you think
the door?
Is she being like, it's funny because there's a lot of funny stuff. It's also, I think it was there for laughs. I think she's being petty, but it's funny.
No, well, and the biggest thing, of course, that works incredibly well is how she is the one who's holding the dog every time it disappears.
Oh my god!
And you don't see it the first time, and then you see it the second time.
That, by the way, speaking of good writing, that is a great plot device.
It really is.
The picture gets taken
on it, right?
And then his character, what's his name? Russell Crowe's character is forced to describe the picture, and they're all in the room.
He's forced to lie for the first
time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing about lying and honesty and trust. It's all
and the whole movie's about trust.
There is something primal about the message of this film. It's like I love that the speech at the end is saying, you know what? Give us all a break. We all lie.
Well, thank God when he finally looked at the picture that he took of the garden that his mother described to him.
Yeah.
It was actually out. Spoiler alert, she didn't lie to him.
No, she didn't.
Right. And I would have loved another version of this where they go a
little bit more. It would be completely different if the gardener wasn't out there. Excuse me, Jared.
No, I agree. And I love, again, the script is so good. And this is a single writer director woman.
Yeah.
But it was so good. Like, I would have not minded even more delving into the flashbacks to the child and the mother relationship just a little bit more as well, because it was very strong. It wasn't so well acted and shot, but the script was so good. Like again, it comes back to.
But they do that with the scene in the cemetery.
Well, they do it because there's that rad, like, how many of you think that she was actually dead in that coffin or she was not and just moved and left it?
At that point, I wasn't sure.
She's dead in the coffin.
At that
point. She's dead in the coffin.
But there is something where he touches it and he says it's empty.
Yeah.
No. He says, has anyone ever buried an empty coffin?
Yeah.
Right.
And
but he also touches it and says it's empty to himself.
Oh yeah, the other part. Yeah.
And so like I didn't necessarily think she wasn't dead, but I loved that idea that maybe she was like, you know what, I can't deal with you. I have to leave you with someone else, and I'm gonna fake my death to you.
It's really weird because his character is like, even as a child, he thinks people are judging him, including his mother, for being blind.
Well, that's why, and
it's in his head.
And that's why he keeps Celia around for so long, is he specifically says, like, because she loves me and hates me, she can never pity me, and I can pity her.
That's right.
He's a broken person. Like, it's a really
he's a resentful blind person who knows
He's a resentful one.
Yeah.
I want to hear Jim's corner. Jim's been very quiet here.
I enjoyed it. It was a fun little film. You guys have said pretty much everything about it.
Yeah.
Alrighty then.
I love that. You know what? I think I also love the locations. It's all filmed in Victoria, right? Which is the colder part of Australia. So it's all brickwork and alleyways. It looked very Victorian.
It
Yeah.
did, yeah.
Yeah, it had a neat kind of old school look to
yeah,
it.
this could have been Manchester.
Yeah,
I
could have been.
wonder if
Stained glass windows and like a brick everywhere, and it's like it didn't look particularly
Everyone's wearing
Australian.
coats.
Didn't look
Yeah,
particularly
exactly.
Australian. Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
Like the
Yeah.
I love
Kinda
the
nice.
scene. I love the scene where Russell Crowe goes and meets him in the park, and he's got the rain all over his coat.
Yeah.
Like you can tell he's been
I
walking.
love
in the
Russell
rain.
Crowe's. I love his look where it's like a sweatshirt and then the raincoat over it, but it's open.
Right.
Yeah,
And it's like it looks like sporty, but respect. Like it just has a cool. He's working class, but he's not a
Yeah.
bum. It's very cool.
He's got his weird necklace that he wears and his
and he
little
and he
wrist
wears his
thing.
little
Yeah.
thing on his wrist.
It's like
but,
basically like puka shells in the 70s. He's wearing it all the time, basically.
but he's wearing. I used to do that actually. He's wearing a bandana around his wrist.
Yes, that was
Right,
big.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
he has parachute pants in one scene.
Yes, he does. He
Yes,
absolutely
he does. So
Well, it was 90. I mean, when they filmed this, it was 89,
91.
90.
So it was
Right,
like
right.
early 90s, right?
And again, I want to point out, as I said in the chat, there's a 4-year age difference between these two, and it feels like 10 in
yes.
this whole movie. Like it's
Uh-huh.
amazing how much younger Russell Crowe feels in this.
Yeah, he feels boyish.
Hey,
Yeah.
does anyone
And-
know?
and-
Does anyone
and
know what
kudos
horror
to-
film that is in the watching the drive-in?
Well, at first I thought it was Slumber Party Massacre, but it's not.
no,
It's some Australian thing.
It's called like Blood something. It's from 1990.
We'll look it up. We'll look it
It's
up.
absolutely a terrible.
Oh, it looks
bullshit
terrible,
movie.
and they're making fun of it the entire time, which is the.
But I also give
Where he starts honking the horn, and then everyone else starts honking the horn.
It's so funny.
I give kudos to the filmmaker as well for having a realistic depiction of a fight, because it wasn't like
Yes.
it was long and drawn out. It was
And it was
unorganized. It was
stupid.
sloppy. It was stupid. It was
Punches
like
that guy right in the dick, and then runs away, and then
he goes under
and
he
then-
goes
and
under the
then
car at
fucking-
one point.
Well, he gets his head cut.
Nuts.
He gets his head cut because fucking guy.
'Cause Hugo opens the fucking door.
Opens the door. in
Yeah.
his head.
Boom! Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
doors
big
open, right?
injury from the fight.
So you never know how fights are going to go down in any particular movie. And I thought, oh, this is a very realistic sort of like he's trying to run away mostly. He's trying to just not get hit, and I
Tries
enjoyed
to
it.
get in the car, it fucks up. Gets
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
other side. Open the passenger door. Open the
Yeah.
passenger door. Like
Damn! I think we should probably go to the cards.
he
for this,
wasn't-
but John wandered off.
No, I'm just grabbing a beer.
Good for you.
early 90s Russell Crowe. It's fun to watch this is
He was
the-
coming out of television to do this, right? He was just actually getting feature
I mean,
films the first time.
He's
right?
pretty handsome.
I've seen
very
Russell
handsome.
Crowe-
Still very
Gloom
handsome.
Gloom Girl turned me on to a movie he did called The Sum of Us. It's just utterly charming. I would recommend it.
And we
highly.
all saw Romper Stomper, right?
Romper Stomper for sure.
I haven't seen Robert
I
Stone.
never
Oh,
saw that.
dude.
Yeah.
Oh
he did,
my god,
he did
that was his
right
breakout.
before this, I think.
Yeah,
No, he did it like right after.
I think
Oh,
it was
right after.
No,
It was
Romper
after. Weirdly enough,
It was
this
like
was before, yeah.
two films after this.
And what is he like, a thug in that one, or?
No, he's a
Jesus
skinhead, dude.
Christ, he's a
Skinhead,
fucking
right.
Nazi skinhead in that film.
No, but
yes.
just leading up to Quick and the Dead, and then L.A. Confidential, and then of course now.
See,
Right,
LA
that is-
Confidential is where I first saw him and totally fell in love.
Oh, me too.
He's
me too.
so good.
God, that film.
damn.
I don't want to go into it. That film was just. It just. Totally.
I need to see that again. I haven't seen it since the theater.
It's a good
It's
pick.
so good.
Chris!
Really long.
Rollo Tomasi. Rollo Tomasi.
Let's go to cards at this point. Come on.
Hell yeah.
Oh, dude,
I
what
love
a
this movie.
pick! That was just my. I love. That's what I love about this show.
You want to know how this got on your radar?
Yeah.
Like I said, I looked
He
at the
said he rented
VHS
it.
in the fucking Blockbuster, and I
Yeah.
thought that looks good, and I rented it, and then I didn't watch it.
Also,
Okay.
ironically, it's almost the same cover as Memento.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's a Polaroid,
But
right?
Memento was like 12 years later.
Right.
Yeah.